So I'm with Daphne Caine here, and this, of course, back in October, the very first day of October it was, I think, when it was all happening in Laxey, and we had the digger in there. They were making a hole in the wall, which is just there now, and they put a new build in there since. But anyway, the main thing is, Daphne, you've got four or five questions coming up on Tuesday's sitting, and all to do with this after the report that's out. What are these questions? Are you not happy with how it's going? Over to you.
No, I'm very happy there was an independent review of what happened, and the timeline is all very clearly put in the report. I'm happy that the Chief Minister has undertaken to implement all the 10 recommendations in full, but the big question is when. So I have a series of questions. One for the Chief Minister: will he make a statement, and when will he ensure that all these recommendations are done? One to the Manx Utilities, one to the Department of Infrastructure on the surface drainage issues, and one to the Treasury Minister on the issue of whether the residents of Laxey, who are now struggling to get insurance or can't get insurance or have increased premiums, whether they can have access to flood reinsurance. And is that something I've previously asked the Treasury Minister about, and it's really what progress has been made.
Remind me, was cash put aside for this to be done, or have they got to find new money for it?
Well, that's the other big question. In the report, it clearly says that there are groups of different government departments that get together and sort of have an update, but there isn't a flood czar, a senior person at a strategic level coordinating all the work that goes on and prioritising. And one of the criticisms in the report was the fact that Garff commissioners had highlighted and reported and forwarded residents' concerns about the debris left up at Glenroy, and the Manx Utilities declined to do anything about it, and they were part of the problem. There was scouring down the river that is attributed directly to the lack of action. So it's in a way, it's somebody to sit above what's going on, to prioritise and coordinate, and have both the funding and the staff resources to ensure that the flood strategy, the national flood strategy also, is carried out.
So until that's done, the potential is we could come back to the same thing at some point in the future, which will be the last thing these people need here, because we've got some shots coming up here in one of the houses, which, how many, 7-8 months now since it's been going on, and they're still getting back on their feet.
Yeah, there's families, young children who had all the trauma of the actual event, who have been out of their property, some of them not back, and they're spending considerable amounts of money, some of it insurance, but refurbishing, restoring those properties, and they can't get insured for flood. So that, if it's your family situation, then you'd be very keen to know from the Chief Minister, and there's a lot of support for the actual fact of having an independent review and all the findings of the report and the professionals who assessed everything. But there's lots of work that's been going on as well, and it's for the residents. Is that being done in a coordinated way rather than a piecemeal way? Is this working into a big picture? Or not. And one of the biggest ones is about the surface water runoff, and I was staggered at a recent commissioners meeting to be informed that Ardreacht, with its modern housing estate, in Ardreacht there are 46 gullies. On Cled Road there are only 10.
A bit of work going on out by the shore, which looks to be flood related. You've been waiting for that to happen, I understand.
Well, we have raised that, as Martin Perkins and myself, as the constituency MHKs, frequently through the surgeries over the years. We've had people from Ramsey Road, from Balaric, from Gretsch Lower. We've had people from the shore telling us that, particularly down Minorca Hill and into Glen Road, there is water runoff that's not being taken into the drains. The drainage system was described in the report as inadequate and outdated. So what is the big plan to ensure that the drainage system for the entire village of Laxey is rebuilt and made up to modern standards? But in terms of the shore, where there was even a picture in the report showing a milk experiment where the water draining over the bridge is not going down the drain, something that we complained about and raised and flagged with departments and the Manx Utilities over many months. Nothing has happened, but I'm delighted to see that something is finally being done today.
And here, what looks like an opening has been made in the wall. This is a new opening because they had to take all that walling down. What's that about? And is that looking like it's something to do with the floods to get in there in the future?
No, I think this is an improvement. The information I've had, and I think there's correspondence just coming out from Manx Utilities and DOI as to the work they have been undertaking, is to say that this wall has been replaced as a sort of flood defence standard wall rather than just the river wall, and the gate is an access gate for future works that might be needed. But you can understand there's a certain amount of nervousness about how that will be effective if we got rainfall of the level that we saw last October.
And I know that there's plans still for the sewerage and having a new potential a bridge across there. That's another thing that's been added into the mix that some people aren't happy about, which could cause future problems.
Absolutely. There's both the sewage plan, development plans for buildings within Glen Road, and also the seawall. There's what's happening with the seawall, because that seems to have dropped off the priority of the Department of Infrastructure. And again, if there was a flood coordinator, flood czar, sitting above and looking at all 4,000 properties across the island that are at risk and potential for damage, I think there's a figure that there was £28 million since the year 2000 that has been the damage from flood that's cost on people and property. So what is the department doing, what is government and the Chief Minister particularly, to put in place that structure that ensures future works will be coordinated?
And until this is all done, these poor people here have got properties that they're not going to be able to sell or move on, are they?
Well, depending if the price is right. More than that, it's the ongoing emotional strain for me. There are people who've been out of their properties for many months. There are people who don't know whether they're going to be insured. There's a lot of concern that the flood management, the tree management, the river management, the seawall defences, future construction, surface water management, a big drainage system for Laxey that is adequate and modern. How are all those things going to happen, and when, and is there any kind of reassurance that the Chief Minister can give in Tynwald in response to the questions next week, that should we have significant rainfall of the kind we saw last year, described as a 1 in 5 to 10 year event, if that happens again in the next year or two, is he confident that the residents down here won't face the same impact that they did last year?